Since I've already compared DDS1 with Schedule 1, we might as well take a look at DDS2 and see how Drug Dealer Sim 2 compares to Schedule 1, since Drug Dealer Sim 2 makes so many improvements over the original game. There are so many similarities between the two games. I'm not going to cover all of them, but I'll hit them really quickly. Both games, you have to avoid the police when you're dealing your product because you don't want to get caught with that. You also have to answer text messages from your customers so you can deal out different products to them in certain amounts. Both games have you scheduling these meetups for these different customers at various times, and both games are mainly focused on producing your own product and dealing that out. So one of my biggest complaints from DDS1 that carried over to DDS2 were the menus. You're constantly in menus whenever you do anything and everything. You're always in something. And it's kind of an overload of menus when you constantly have to deal with them. Just like DDS1, I think Schedule 1 just does a better job with its minigames because it just adds something different than just constantly going through menus. So adding minigames to packaging products or mixing things together is just more fun. And in Schedule 1, if you get tired of these minigames, you can automate it with some employees. Eventually, you can automate everything in DDS2 as well, but the problem is, even that automation is going through a bunch of menus. So you still have the same trouble of all these menus. It's just menu exhaustion over time. Though DDS2 does give you a lot of options in terms of how you package your products, which is a lot more versatility compared to Schedule 1. Schedule 1 limits you with your packaging because you only have two options. You can do baggies, which gives you 1 gram of your product, or you can do jars that gives you 5 grams of your products, and that's pretty much it. There's no in between. But ultimately, Schedule 1 just has a better system of setting up your product and actually producing it because it can be fun and very engaging. Versus DDS2, which you just have to go through menus again just to make your product, which is incredibly boring, in my opinion. One of my biggest complaints about Schedule 1 is that it's very limited in terms of its map. Though the devs are working on this in the future, currently it's very limited and kind of boring at some point. DDS2 kind of has the opposite problem. It has a massive map with a lot of locations, but the problem is it feels very empty and barren at times. It feels like there's a lot of space, but very little in it. And one problem is that you have this big map, but you don't really have an engaging mode of transportation on this map. So in Schedule 1, you have a skateboard that you can ride around, and you'll eventually get vehicles where you can drive around as well. So in DDS2, you do get a vehicle at some point, but it's only for fast traveling. You just go from point A to point B, which is just fast traveling, and I don't like it. I don't have fun with fast traveling. I usually walk everywhere when I play games that have that, like Skyrim, unless I just want to get somewhere, you know? You do get to drive a boat, but that's pretty much it. And the problem with this is that you're just in an open ocean without any other cars, cops to worry about, other gang members that could assault you or something. It's just open ocean, which is not really fun in my opinion, just driving from point A to point B without anything happening along the way. Probably the most annoying thing about DDS2 is the robbery system. When it was introduced to me, I really enjoyed it. The idea of robbing places to get your ingredients was great, and I find that fun. The annoying part is that you have to find these recipes in these warehouses. So the game is based on getting all these recipes, and the problem is some of them you only can find if you break into these warehouses. And the big thing is, all these warehouses are unmarked on the map. So when I was playing through DDS2, I had to find these locations that had these certain recipes on Steam forums instead of actually having it told to me in the game, which kind of sucks, you know? They have to find it that way because a lot of times I just avoid robbing these places because of the reputation hit. So there's basically an expectation you have to go around the whole map and find all these locations for these different recipes that you may get in the break-in. Something DDS2 does better than Schedule 1 is the distribution and dealer system. I think it's a lot more streamlined and easier to deal with large-scale operations in Drug Dealer Sim 2 over Schedule 1. I don't know, I find it easier because the menus are very simple and keeps it really to the point. And the big thing is like sometimes menus are the best option, but it's not the best option all the time. This is probably one area I do find Schedule 1 lacking, is that large-scale operations kind of get tedious to manage. DDS2 does make improvements over DDS1, but I still find Schedule 1 to be a little bit more fun to play because DDS2 just makes everything so tedious to go through. Overall, I just think DDS2 is just so tedious to play. All these menus give you a lot of versatility on how to package your products and play the game, but at the same time, it kind of drags it down. DDS2 just has too big of a map to travel across on foot and on boat because it's just not much happening. Yeah, and also, the menus just get overwhelming at times where it's just too exhausting to deal with. I do think if you want to play more of a complex game overall, DDS2 is more complex and has more versatility when it comes to its menus and such, but I think Schedule 1 is just a lot more streamlined and a lot more fun in my opinion. But one of the big things is that both games are still in active development, where DDS2 just got a big update about mixing different drugs together, while Schedule 1 is still early in development, where the developer is planning on expanding the map and adding all these new products you can make. Each game has its pluses and minuses in my opinion, and each game may improve over time at this rate. We'll just have to wait and see. As always, thank you for watching, sub if you haven't, and check out my live streams when I'm live.